This video is sponsored by the courses on investing in YouTube. Make money from home below. The coupon code expires soon. Congress actually showed up today. Unfortunately, right now, their priority doesn't seem to be the people. Instead, it's the post office. As you're watching this video, Congress is debating the Delivering for America Act. Nancy Pelosi also just gave a press conference and touched on stimulus in the post office. She focused her press conference on complaints against the Postmaster General, explaining why the post office is so important, explaining that she doesn't trust the Postmaster General, even though he wrote a letter saying, okay, I won't make changes. She says she does not trust him, and that's why this bill is being voted on today. Pelosi mentioned that 1.2 billion prescriptions were sent through the mail, and that sending letters to family members and Santa from children is very important to Americans. She also mentioned that the HEROES Act, that is the $3.4 trillion stimulus package that Democrats passed, will tomorrow have been passed 100 days ago. She also responded to a tweet from Mark Meadows, where Mark Meadows suggested that Nancy Pelosi, if she cares about the people, should just pass a smaller bill on unemployment and smaller priorities now. Deal with the rest later. Just get something done now. Nancy Pelosi responded and said, the problem is that Mark Meadows' smaller bill does nothing for people getting evicted. It does nothing for rental assistance, nothing for food insecurity, nothing for schools, state and local governments, nothing for testing, tracing, and treatment. She says that we're ready to negotiate. She's saying that obviously on behalf of Democrats. She says that Democrats are down $1 trillion. They're down from 3.4 to somewhere around 2, plus or minus $2 trillion. We're getting ready for the next legislative sessions, she says. And she says that Mark Meadows' plans are very deficient. Nancy Pelosi also says that she's getting ready for January. Those are the next two big sessions we have coming up. The one starting September 8th and then January. It'd be nice to see something get done sooner than that, but those are the two big sort of time frames Nancy Pelosi is looking at. So far, she's alluded to taking state and local government funding and pushing that off until January. Hopefully, in the next session, we'll actually see progress on unemployment, stimulus checks, schools, and so on and so forth. I will talk about exactly that in just a moment, but it's also helpful to note that Nancy Pelosi responded to the president's suggestion this morning that the president might deploy law enforcement and ICE officials, those are immigration officials, to monitor polling stations. She believes that this is an intimidation tactic to keep people away from the polls. Further, she reminded us that state and local governments do 90% of the education spending and they need support. In the actual chamber, we've got multiple one-minute speeches happening, talking about the election, the post office, talking about Trump, a lot of partisanship going on if you tune into the actual live video of what's going on. Not very entertaining, not much actually happening, in my opinion. Here's a quick recap of the bill that Congress is coming in to work on today, along with some new amendments to it, and then let's get back to talking about stimulus. So here it is. This is the current text of the Delivering for America Act. We'll see that this prevents any changes from January 1st, 2020 through January 1st, 2021. Including any kind of closure of the facilities or reduction of hours, prohibitions on overtime pay, or any kind of other changes that would delay the mail. They also introduced an amendment that is much, much more thorough. Just to point out a couple things here, you'll see they changed the hours mark to office hours or facility hours. They're also amending the verbiage here on overtime a little bit. You'll see here any prohibition on payment of overtime has actually been changed to any prohibition or restriction of the use of overtime. So they're trying to make this even more broad, this bill, with this amendment. All election mail should be treated as first-class mail. No stopping or removing mail sorting machines. No removing or eliminating mail collection boxes. No hiring freezes, amongst other things. Again, they've got a 2-page amendment here. They are also going to include the $25 billion in funding. We weren't sure if we were going to see that in this bill. And now via this amendment, we are looking at $25 billion for the post office. which of course is leading to a lot of memes on Twitter of people saying things like, oh, so Democrats don't trust the post office, but they want to hand them $25 billion. Furthermore, there are also expectations that we might hear something about stimulus today being brought up in the House of Representatives, such as extending unemployment more appropriately or some sort of renter relief program. The problem is, and as much as this is bad news, it's real news. So far, nothing indicates that we'll actually see something done today in Congress. Nancy Pelosi said this morning that she's appreciated all of the suggestions that she's gotten from other congressmen and women, and that they're working on those. And this is really a reference to, I gotta say it, a lot of the clickbait we've seen over the last few days about, 100 representatives or whatever have sent letters to Nancy Pelosi demanding we include some talk about stimulus. The problem is, as of this morning on the House legislative calendar, there is nothing about stimulus. Now, the only way we might actually see something about stimulus being talked about in the actual chamber today, which it's honestly pathetic and ridiculous that we're not, is realistically if Nancy Pelosi, when she plows through the doors, she comes in with some sort of breakthrough announcement that, folks, today we are announcing our own skinny bill. Honestly, I think that just came to me in a dream yesterday because that'd be really cool, but I don't see it happening. Because realistically, if the entire House is there, if they put together a skinny version of stimulus today, I wouldn't be surprised if the Senate came right back to work, put it in front of the president, and we'd have something done within the next week. But I doubt it's going to come from here because right now they're stuck on the HEROES Act and sort of just tuning back the dial on the HEROES Act from the $3.4 trillion down to $2 trillion to remove some of the pork and the fatness that's in that bill. All right. Obviously, if there's a breakthrough today, which we can keep our fingers crossed for, we will have a video on it. So stay tuned, consider subscribing. And of course, remember this, I'm going to be spending most of my day writing jokes. So I'll see you at the late show. A lot of you have really enjoyed the Late Show over the last couple days. So if you haven't yet seen the playlist for the Late Shows or the last 2 Late Show episodes, you should really take a look at those. You got some good humor in them. So there you have it. That's what's going on today. We've got hopes, but we all know how hopes go in Congress. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again soon.